Poem Brother Trouble by Richard Thomas. Before moving forward, let's learn something about the elements of poem. There are lots of elements of the poem, but here today we are going to discuss 3 of them. 1. Stanza. 2. Form. 3. Sound pattern. Stanzas are a series of lines grouped together and separated by an empty line from other. One way to identify a stanza is to count the number of lines. Thus, couplet 2 lines, tercet 3 lines, quatrain 4 lines, cinquain 5 lines, sestet 6 lines, septet 7 lines, octave 8 lines. So, poem Brother Trouble has 8 lines stanza, that is octave. Form. A poem can be labeled according to its form or style. Here are the 3 most common types of poems according to form. 1. Lyric poetry. Lyric poetry concerns itself largely with the emotional life of the poet. It's written in their voice and expresses strong thoughts and emotions. There is only one voice in a lyric poem, and we see the world from that single perspective. 2. Narrative poem. 3. Descriptive poem. So, the poem today we are going to learn Brother Trouble is a lyric poetry. Sound pattern. Rhyme. Rhyme refers to the repetition of sounds in a poem. Example. Of all the burdens I must bear, my brother's number 1. Our parents really messed up there. They've raised an awful son. He's lazy, stubborn, rough and mean, and thinks he's boss of me. The biggest grouch you've ever seen, and greedy as can be. So, here the rhyming words are marked in different colors. Red, green, blue and purple. It actually indicates the repetition of sounds in the poem. Bear and there. 1 and son. Mean and seen. Me and be. Relax and make yourself ready to pay attention to the poem. Let's learn something about the poet. Richard Thomas. He was a high school business teacher and coached several sports in a small town. Years later he switched to teaching in the middle school. As a boy, he'd been fascinated by the rhymes, so he began to write his own rhyme poems for his classes. Years later, after retirement, he discovered several poetry sharing websites and began to write poems for adult. Poem Brother Trouble by Richard Thomas. Of all the burdens I must bear, my brother's number 1. Our parents really messed up there. They've raised an awful son. He's lazy, stubborn, rough and mean, and thinks he's boss of me. The biggest grouch you've ever seen, and greedy as can be. His constant teasing makes me sore. He does it just for spite. He cheats and brags, and, furthermore, he tickles when we fight. Unless he stops, I swear someday I'll punch his ugly face. And if they'd let me have my way, I'd shoot him into space. But other times he's not so bad. He's taught me lots of games. He gave me toys and books he had, and calls me funny names. He helps me when my homework's hard, and finds me when I hide. He built a treehouse in our yard, and lets me play inside. He laughs at every joke I tell, and gives me good advice. He knows when I'm not feeling well, and treats me extra nice. So, all in all, I'd have to say, it's better in the end to let the no good nuisance stay. My brother is my friend. Stanza 1 explanation. The poet is talking about his brother, who is the most bad-tempered and irritable guy one has ever seen. He says that he carries the entire load of bearing his brother as his parent messed up raising his brother. He furthermore elaborates his brother's qualities that he is an unpleasant and violent person who is unwilling to work or to use his energy. His brother is determined not to change his attitude and has an excessive desire for food. His brother is number one and thinks that he is the boss of the family. Stanza 2 explanation. In this stanza the poet adds more details to the qualities his brother possesses. His brother's continuous teasing makes him upset and annoyed. His brother does this as he has a desire to annoy or offend him. He acts unfairly in order to gain an advantage and shows excessive pride and self-satisfaction in his abilities. When he fights with him, he lightly touches in a way that causes mild discomfort and often laughter. The poet is making promise that he'll someday punch his repulsive face and shoot him so he goes straight into space. Stanza 3 explanation. In this stanza the poet has realized that his brother has a good side too. His brother taught him lots of games and shared his things with him. His brother calls him amusing names, helps him with his schoolwork, and finds him whenever he hides. His brother also built a tree house in their backyard and let him play inside it. Stanza 4 explanation. The poet in this stanza writes that his brother is the person with whom he has a bond of mutual affection. His brother laughs at his jokes and gives him good guidance whenever he is in need. He treats him with pleasure and satisfaction whenever he feels low. The poet in this stanza summarized that his brother causes annoyance, but he is also his friend for life. Let's go through the vocabulary of the poem. Thank you.